Mario AfterParty here from the Nintendo Powerzone podcast, and this episode is about 7 things you might have missed, or maybe things you didn't know about, in Pokemon Sun and Moon. First up, we got the Salon, and one of the flaws about the Salon is that you can't preview what your haircut or your hair color is going to look like before you pay for it. And haircuts are expensive in Alola. It costs $4,000 to get your haircut, and you don't get a preview of what it's going to look like, and if you don't like it, there are no refunds, so you are just out of luck. Some of the hairstyles are pretty obvious, but some of them aren't, and you should know what your hair is going to look like before you pay for it. So here it is. We've got pictures of all the haircuts and hair colors in the game, so that when you go to the salon and spend thousands of dollars on your hair, you leave satisfied. If it has an asterisk below it, that means you have to beat the game to unlock it. But other than that, all of these haircuts and hair colors are available to you right away. Also, if you want to change your eye color, here are all the different contacts, and for the ladies, all the different lipstick colors. Alright, with that said, let's move on to number 2, which is changing your cursor. A lot of people don't realize that just by pressing start on your 3DS, you can actually change the color of your cursor when you're moving your Pokemon around in your boxes. And if you're as meticulous as I am, this can be really helpful. Alright, so your red cursor is your default cursor. Once you click on a Pokemon, it opens up a list of options for you to choose from, but it's not really ideal if you're trying to move around a lot of Pokemon. Pressing start once changes your cursor color to blue, which means that when you click on a Pokemon, you don't get that list of options. It just picks it up right away. So it's really great for moving around lots of individual Pokemon. And then if you press start again, it changes your cursor color to green, which lets you highlight groups of Pokemon and move around multiple Pokemon at once. And then of course, by pressing L or R, you can shift back and forth between the boxes really fast too. So changing your cursor color is a really great way to move your Pokemon around so that you can get your boxes organized the way you want them. Moving on to number 3, do beans really speed up my time? This one used to irritate me a lot because I thought that it wasn't working. I would dump a lot of beans into these boxes and the time that it took to complete the activity would stay the same. But that's because it works in real time. Look at the picture here. You see that we've got 11 hours and 57 minutes left, and the explorers are returning in 23 hours and 54 minutes. Well, once a minute passes, you see that the time it takes for the explorers to return actually drops by 2 minutes, even though in real time only 1 minute has passed. So every time a minute passes that you have beans for, 2 minutes are going to pass in the time it takes for them to return. So it literally just happens 1 minute at a time. It doesn't cut the time down all at once, but at the end of the day, it still does what you're expecting it to do. It just does it 1 minute at a time. It's confusing. I don't know why they decided to do it this way, but it is working, so don't worry. Since we're on the topic of beans, number 4 is feeding your Pokemon. I'm including this one in here because apparently I'm retarded and I didn't know how to feed my Pokemon. I didn't realize that you have to drag the bean down and hold it in front of their face until they're done eating it. I was just dragging and dropping the beans, and then my Pokemon were getting angry at me because apparently they're incapable of feeding themselves, and I didn't know why they wouldn't eat the beans, and none of them would love me. And so finally I figured it out, but I am sure that I can't be the only one who was retarded and didn't know this. I did take pictures of my Pokemon screaming at me and crying because I dropped the beans instead of hand feeding them. How did they survive in the wild? Like, this blows my mind because you would think that they should be able to feed themselves, but whatever. Moving on to number 5. Protect only kind of works against Z-moves. So if you use Protect and your opponent uses a Z-move, you're still going to get hit, but you're only going to take 25% of the damage. Kind of makes sense because the Z-move is supposed to be this all-powerful move, and it's going to look something like this where it says that your Pokemon couldn't fully protect itself and got hurt. but you're only going to take 25% of the damage. Remember that this does include all of the moves that are similar to Protect, such as Toxapex's Baneful Banker. All of those moves that are like Protect, they're also going to take 25% of the damage from a Z move. Number 6, stat changes. Did you know that you can actually click on the icons of the Pokemon in the center of the screen? You can click on your Pokemon or the defending Pokemon to check out their type and also all of the status conditions that are affecting them and whether their individual stats have been buffed or nerfed. Looking at this example here, you can see that the Slowking that I'm fighting is badly poisoned. It's a little bit more specific when you open up the sub menu. It's also going to show you weather conditions. You can see that we have 1 turn remaining of Sandstorm, and then various status affecting moves like Trick Room. We have 4 turns remaining, or moves like Reflect. It's just a really good sub menu to open up, especially when your battles start getting a little chaotic, when you've got multiple individual stats that have been buffed or nerfed. It's a really great menu. I highly recommend you take advantage of it. Okay, number 7, the Festival Plaza. I saved this one for last because it's kind of overwhelming. They give it to you right at the beginning of the game, and there's so much to do there. I feel like a lot of players just kind of abandon it and just think, okay, I'm just going to use this for trading and battling, and that's it. But there are actually a lot of really useful facilities. They don't do a good job of explaining the Festival Plaza to you, but I'm going to break these facilities down so you kind of get a better understanding of what each one of them offers. You have 7 different types of facilities in the Festival Plaza. You have your restaurants, your bouncy houses, your dye shops, your haunted houses, your lotteries, your stores or shops, and then your fortune tellers. At the restaurant, you can feed things to your Pokemon, which will increase their level. You can raise and lower their base stats. You can also boost their happiness. The bouncy houses all look like some sort of color variation of Drifloon, but they're really great for boosting your Pokemon's EVs. You bring your Pokemon to the bouncy house, and you just choose a course, and it will raise your Pokemon's base stat in whatever course you choose. So the lottery is pretty self-explanatory. You can play once a day. It's going to randomly give you a prize, but the higher rank your lottery is, which means the more stars it has, just means that it's going to have a better chance of giving you a rare item. So if you've got a 4 or 5 star lottery, you're probably not going to be getting berry juices from it. The haunted house is like the lottery, except that it's not free to play. You gotta pay 10 festival coins, but your Pokemon can come out with several prizes for you, and you can get Sacred Ash from the haunted house, which revives all of your fainted Pokemon at once and fills their HP up to the max, so that's a pretty cool item. The dye shops can be fun if you're fashion conscious with your avatar. There's various color dye shops in the game. They're all gonna dye anything that you have in your inventory that's white, whatever the color of the shop is. But if you want to use berries instead of festival coins, then you can actually pick the color that you want to dye it with, but you've got to have the right amount of berries. The stores and goodie shops aren't that great in my opinion, because most of the items that you can find here are items that you can get at the Poke Center somewhere in the game. You do pay festival coins, so I guess if you don't have a lot of in-game money and you're kind of broke, it can be useful, but remember, you do have limited space in the Festival Plaza, so you don't really want one of these stores taking up the spot of a more useful facility. But that useful facility is not going to be your fortune teller. Fortune teller sucks. It's last and least on the list. It's going to recommend you a random shop to go to. If you go there, sometimes you can get a better chance of getting rarer items, but you still have to pay festival coins to use this. They can teach you new phrases to use in the Festival Plaza, but I mean, who cares about that? The key takeaway here is to remember that you can customize your Festival Plaza to suit your playstyle. If you're not that into EV training, then throw out the bouncy houses. If you like avatar customization, then keep the dye shops. You can have more than one dye shop in your plaza. Sophocles will give you access to new facilities as you level your plaza up, but once you get to level 8, you can actually talk to the people in your plaza and ask them to recommend you a facility. And honestly, that's probably the best way to get the really good facilities in the game. That concludes this video. I hope you found it informative. I'm Mario AfterParty, and this has been a Nintendo Powerzone production. And guys, if you love all things Nintendo, don't forget to check out our podcast. Nice One and I break down a lot of great things happening within the video game industry. You can find us on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher Radio. And if you just want to email me personally, my email is theafterpartysound@gmail.com. You can also follow me on Twitter at Mario AfterParty. And guys, if you like the music, look up GameChops.com. You can also find him on YouTube at YouTube/GameChops. He's got a lot of great video game remixes for you to enjoy. Other than that, you already know, stay fresh.